Hey y'all, howdy. Welcome to One for the Books. I'm Sandra Broadwell. Today I am going to do a TBR video, and I've never done a TBR before, but this month's TBR is a little unhinged, so I just thought it would be fun to talk about it. I'm going to attempt to do 3 readathons, and I have never done one readathon before, so this is going to be very interesting. So first off, May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month or History Month, one of those. And Cindy over at With Cindy is hosting the Asian Readathon. So I was already planning to read from the majority Asian authors this month, but since there's an Asian Readathon, I'm going to try and make sure that every book I read this month is from an Asian author. Cindy has 5 different prompts for the Asian Readathon. I will be sure to link all 3 Readathon announcement videos in the description box below. I believe Cindy's Readathon has 5 different prompts that you can follow. So the first one is just read a book by an Asian author. I'm absolutely doing that because I'm going to read a whole bunch of different Asian authors this month. So I don't have a specific book picked out for that one because all of them fit that category. One of the things that Cindy specified about the Asian Readathon is that each book should feature a character or author of a different Asian ethnicity. So that one was definitely a lot more challenging because I noticed that the majority of the authors that I selected this month were either Chinese or of Chinese descent. So that was a good challenge to throw in the mix. So the second prompt for the Asian Readathon was read a book featuring a friendship between at least 2 Asian characters. So for this one, I chose The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. And Tasha is based in the UK, but has Indian heritage. So this was the first one that I am picking for Asian Readathon. The Jasmine Throne I know almost nothing about, except that it is fantasy. It is part of a trilogy. I know it features maybe a sapphic romance, and that's basically all I know, but I've heard really good things about it, so I've been excited to pick this one up for a while. The third prompt for Asian Readathon was read a book written by an Asian author and or featuring an Asian character that is focused on identity and self-discovery. So for this one, I chose Know My Name by Chanel Miller. Know My Name by Chanel Miller is a nonfiction memoir. The woman who wrote it was the victim in the Brock Turner rape trial. So this is going to be a really challenging book to read, but I have heard from so many people that it is one of the best memoirs they have ever read, and it centers her experience in the American justice system and rape culture, and I've heard it's basically should be required reading for the human race, or at least the American citizen. So very excited to pick that up, even though I think that's going to be a really difficult read. The fourth prompt for Asian Readathon was read a book written by an Asian author and or featuring an Asian character that shows them going on an adventure. So for this one, I chose The Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. This is a Japanese author and it is translated. The Traveling Cat Chronicles, from what I know, it's from the perspective of the cat, and the cat's owner is trying to give it away to a good home, and so they go on this road trip to different places to try and find a good home for the cat. I've heard this one will make me cry, but we are going to be traveling with our cat later this year. My husband and I are moving into our van full time, and we're taking our cat with us for basically a year-long road trip, so I thought this was pretty much required reading. And then my last book for the 5th prompt of the Asian Readathon is read a book featuring an Asian character who is either a hot mess, famous, or eccentric. So for this one, I chose Blue-Skinned Gods by S.J. Sindhu, who is a Sri Lankan author or Sri Lankan descended. And I believe it features an Indian family. From what I know of this one, it is about a boy that is born with blue skin, and his family tells everyone that he is a god. And basically the repercussions of that and how it affects their family and how it affects his life. So I heard about this one originally on This Story Ain't Over. She has an excellent channel. If you've never checked her out before, be sure to do so. I also, if you've been following my channel for at least since the beginning of the year, you know that I have several goals that I set out for myself at the beginning of the year. And so one of my goals for 2023 was to read another book by every author that was new to me in 2022 whose book in 2022 I rated 4 stars or higher. So I have 2 authors that fall into this category that would also meet the Asian author requirement for this month. And that would be Yellowface by R.F. Kuang and Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. Because last year I read Exhalation by Ted Chiang and I read the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang. So I rated all of those books 4 stars or higher. They were excellent. And then another one of my 2023 goals was to read every single book I bought or acquired in 2022. And I pre-ordered Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. And then I also got the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy for Christmas. So that was The Three-Body Problem, The Dark Forest, and Death's End by Cixin Liu. So I have to read all 3 of those books before the end of the year. So the second readathon that I am taking part in is the May the Force Read With You readathon hosted by Break Even Books. And this one has a million different prompts. It's way too much to explain in this video, so I'm just going to talk about the prompts that I'm choosing to follow, but I will, like I said, I will link the announcement video with all of the rules in the description box below. Another requirement for the Star Wars readathon that you couldn't reuse any book for more than 1 prompt, which you could do in the Asian readathon, but not in the May the Force Read With You readathon. So some of the books overlap between these 2 readathons, but not within the Star Wars readathon. My species that I chose for the May the Force Read With You readathon is clone, because I can read The Three-Body Problem as a sci-fi book that fits the prompt. So I actually already started this one earlier today and I'm loving it so far, so I'm super excited about this. The second prompt that I followed, I chose the Jedi Order. And so one of the abilities I am following for the Jedi Order is Sever Force, and that just means read a nonfiction. So Know My Name by Chanel Miller fits that one. Okay, the next prompt that I am choosing to attempt for this Star Wars readathon was another ability for the Jedi Order called Plant Surge, and this one is just read a book with nature on the cover, and the Traveling Cat Chronicles follows that one very nicely because it has literal plants on the cover. Then my next ability is Jedi Mind Trick. Read a book with a similar premise or cover as a book you've previously read in your life. Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang is a collection of science fiction short stories, and last year I read Exhalation by Ted Chiang, which is also a collection of sci-fi short stories, so I feel like that is a fairly similar premise. The last ability that I am picking for the Jedi Order is called Transfer Force, and this is just read a borrowed book, either from a library, a friend, etc. A lot of the books I'm going to be reading this month are going to be borrowed from the Libby app, so I just chose one of them that didn't meet one of the other Star Wars prompts, which was Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. Then I believe if I follow all of those prompts, so what level Jedi you achieve is based on how many force abilities you read. And so I think with that number of abilities, I will be like a Jedi Master. I'll have to double check. Then I chose my weapon as lightsaber, of course, and the prompt for lightsaber was look at the color wheel, read a book with the opposite of your favorite color. I love blue, so I looked at blue. The opposite of that is orange, and She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan is a fantasy duology, I believe, and I think the second book comes out later this year. So this is one I've been wanting to read that I've heard great things about, and I don't really know what it's about, but I know that booktubers that I follow really enjoyed it. And then my last prompt that I hope to get to for the May the Force Read With You readathon is my allies, who are the Rebel Alliance, and this is just read a book with multiple points of view. And so for this one, I'm just choosing The Dark Forest, which is the second book in the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy. I think I forgot to mention what this series is about, starting with the three-body problem. Again, I'm not 100% sure. Pretty sure this is about an alien invasion and is supposed to be deeply philosophical and thought-provoking. The first, how many pages have I read? The first 76 pages so far have been about a lot of Chinese history going back to the 1960s. So I'm super excited to try and get to this whole trilogy this month. Okay, and then the final readathon that I'm taking part in is Dystopian Readathon, hosted by Naomi's Library. And this starts on May 29th and goes through June 4th. So there are actually 3 different, I think, dystopian books by Asian authors on my TBR, but I definitely can't get to that many of them. But one that I already owned that I thought would be perfect for this is Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. I believe this is a dystopian about a young boy that goes looking for his mother and is supposed to be very beautifully written. This will be the very last book that I read this month if everything goes well. But all of that put together, that's 11 books that I hope to read this month. And even though I have read like 13 books in 1 month, none of these books are short. And some of them are actually quite long. The 3rd book in the Remembrance Birth Past trilogy especially is apparently 623 pages. So that's a chonker. So if I don't get to the 3rd book in this series, that'll be the lowest one on my priority for the month. April was a really low reading month for me, and this will have to be like the best reading month of my life in order to get all these books done. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm going to try and do it. I'm super excited about all of these books, and if you've read any of them, please comment below, let me know. I can't wait to see how many of them I actually can accomplish this month. So be sure to stay tuned for my May wrap up to see which of these books I actually got to this month and my thoughts on them. As always, be kind, read books, and hit the subscribe button below for more bookish content to come. See you next time.